Welcome to part 4 of this series on Moby Dick. In this lecture, we will discuss chapters 10 through 15. In chapter 10, Ishmael chats with Queequeg, and they become close friends. They share a smoke together from Queequeg's tomahawk pipe. Queequeg gives Ishmael half of his money, and Ishmael partakes in worshipping Queequeg's idol. At first, Ishmael is hesitant about engaging in the pagan ritual, but he convinces himself that doing so is morally justified. Do you suppose that the magnanimous God of heaven and earth, pagans and all included, can possibly be jealous of an insignificant bit of black wood? Impossible. But what is worship? To do the will of God, that is worship. And what is the will of God? To do to my fellow man what I would have my fellow man do to me. That is the will of God. Now, Queequeg is my fellow man. And what do I wish that this Queequeg would do to me? Why, unite with me in my particular Presbyterian form of worship. Consequently, I must then unite with him in his. Ergo, I must turn idolater. In chapter 11, Queequeg and Ishmael talk long into the night and share a smoke in bed. Their conversation eventually turns to Queequeg's history. Ishmael relates Queequeg's biography in chapter 12. Queequeg was born on a South Pacific island called Rokovoko. He was the son of the king, but he left the island to learn more about Christianity because he believed that the religion could make his people happier and more virtuous. However, he quickly discovered that Christians were miserable and evil too, and that it's a wicked world in all meridians. Ishmael asks him if he plans to return to the island to be crowned king. He answered no, not yet, and added that he was fearful Christianity, or rather Christians, had unfitted him for ascending the pure and undefiled throne of 30 pagan kings before him. But by and by, he said, he would return, as soon as he felt himself baptized again. In the meantime, Queequeg decides to go on a whaling voyage with Ishmael. In chapter 13, Queequeg and Ishmael depart for Nantucket in a small schooner. During the trip, the wind tears the mainsail, and the boom begins to swing wildly about. One man is knocked overboard by it. Queequeg secures the boom, and then jumps into the frigid water and saves the drowning man, winning the respect of all on board. Commenting upon Queequeg's daring feat, Ishmael foreshadows Queequeg's death. From that hour I clove to Queequeg like a barnacle, yea, till poor Queequeg took his last dive. The knowledge that Queequeg will die at sea heightens the level of suspense. Though his death is certain, the time and circumstances of his death are still obscure, and thus the reader is continuously anxious about the unknown fate of such an endearing character. In chapter 14, Ishmael discusses the island of Nantucket. He asserts that the island's inhabitants are the most powerful emperors in the world. 2/3 of this terraqueous globe are the Nantucketers, for the sea is his, he owns it, as emperors own empires, other seamen having but a right of way through it. In chapter 15, Ishmael and Queequeg arrive on Nantucket and search for the Trypots, which is an inn that was recommended to them by Peter Coffin of the Spouter Inn while they were lodging in New Bedford. The two friends find the inn and enjoy the inn's renowned clam and cod chowder. Despite the cheerful atmosphere within the Trypots, Ishmael is disturbed by the ominous sign standing at the entrance of the inn. 2 enormous wooden pots painted black and suspended by asses' ears swung from the cross trees of an old topmast. The horns of the cross trees were sawed off on the other side so that this old topmast looked not a little like a gallows. Perhaps I was oversensitive to such impressions at the time, but I could not help staring at this gallows with a vague misgiving. A sort of crick was in my neck as I gazed up to the 2 remaining horns. Yes, 2 of them, one for Queequeg and one for me. It's ominous, thinks I. A coffin, my innkeeper upon landing in my first whaling port, tombstones staring at me in the whaleman's chapel, and here a gallows. Melville once again foreshadows a tragic end to the novel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for part 5 of this series on Moby Dick.